The Zephyrian research vessel Quantum Echo hummed quietly through the void, its sleek hull cutting through space like a blade through silk. Captain Vextal adjusted his bioluminescent fins, reviewing the specimen acquisition report on his neural interface. The mission was routine abduct a random human from the primitive planet Earth for their ongoing behavioral studies. The species showed promise, but their fragmented civilizations and lack of unified technology made them easy targets for research. Specimen secured, Captain, reported Science Officer Krillana, her tentacles dancing over the control matrix. Adult. Male, approximately 35 Earth years. Appears to be in excellent physical condition. Vextal nodded approvingly. The Zephyrians have been studying various species for millennia, cataloging their responses to isolation, fear, and controlled environments. Humans were particularly interesting, emotional, unpredictable, yet surprisingly adaptable. This specimen would provide valuable data for their xenobiological archives. What they didn't know was that they had just abducted Marcus Reed, a former Special Forces operator turned wilderness survival instructor who had been camping alone in the Montana wilderness when their tractor beam had pulled him aboard. Marcus awakened in a sterile, white chamber roughly 12 feet square. The walls appeared seamless, glowing with an ambient light that had no visible source. His camping gear was gone, replaced by what looked like a simple gray jumpsuit. He sat up slowly, his training immediately kicking in as he assessed his situation. Kidnapped. Unknown location. No visible exits. He stood and methodically examined every inch of the cell. The walls felt warm to the touch, almost organic. No visible cameras, but he assumed he was being watched. In one corner, he discovered a small alcove that dispensed a clear, tasteless liquid water or something close to it. Another alcove provided what appeared to be nutritional paste. Keep calm. Assess. Adapt. Overcome. Marcus began his routine. Push-ups, sit-ups, stretching. If he was going to be here long, he needed to maintain his physical condition. He also started talking to himself, knowing that isolation could break a person's mind faster than any physical torture. Day 1 in. Space jail, he said aloud, doing jumping jacks. Food's terrible, but the water's not bad. 1-star review on TripAdvisor. Captain Vextal observed the human through the quantum viewing portal, his curiosity piqued. Most specimens spent their first days in panic screaming, pounding on walls, curled in corners weeping. This human was exercising and making what appeared to be humorous observations about his situation. Fascinating, murmured Krillana. His stress hormones are elevated but controlled. No signs of psychological breakdown. Continue observation. Vextal ordered. Implement Phase 2. The temperature in Marcus's cell dropped 20 degrees. Most species would huddle and conserve energy. Marcus simply adjusted his exercise routine, generating body heat through movement. When they flooded the cell with a mild hallucinogenic gas, he held his breath, covered his nose with his shirt, and performed breathing exercises until the ventilation cleared. When they played disturbing sound screens, explosions, the cries of dying creatures, Marcus sat in meditation pose and began reciting poetry from memory. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. His voice remained steady, drowning out their psychological warfare. Sir? Krillana's voice carried a note of concern. The specimen is not responding to standard conditioning protocols. If anything, he appears to be thriving. Vextal's fins darkened with frustration. Increase the stimuli. Phase 3. They cut his food rations in half. Marcus simply adjusted, stretching his supplies and maintaining his strength through carefully planned nutrition. They created random loud noises to disrupt his sleep. He learned to nap in short intervals, a skill he mastered in combat zones. When they introduced aggressive microorganisms into his cell, expecting him to sicken and weaken, Marcus recognized the symptoms and created a crude filtration system. Using threads from his jumpsuit and accumulated dust, somehow avoiding the worst effects. Most remarkably, He began to reverse engineer their technology. Marcus had noticed that the food dispenser responded to pressure applied in specific sequences. Through careful experimentation, he discovered he could manipulate not just the quantity, but the composition of the nutritional paste. Within weeks, he had created a crude but functional tool from hardened paste and jumpsuit fibers. Day 43, he announced to his unseen captors, while fashioning what appeared to be a primitive lockpick. Today's weather is 72 degrees of. I'm going to escape and probably steal your spaceship. Tomorrow's forecast calls for a 100% chance of human ingenuity with scattered alien tears. The breakthrough came when Marcus realized the wall's organic feeling wasn't just texture. It was actually semi-living biomaterial that responded to specific stimuli. Using his improvised tools and knowledge of pressure points, he found a way to create a small opening. The moment he squeezed through into the ship's corridor, alarms began blaring. Emergency lights bathed everything in pulsing red. Marcus grinned. He'd been in hostile territory before. Captain Vextal rushed to the detention level, but found only an empty cell and a message scratched into the bio wall. Thanks for the hospitality. Food could use salt. Lamar. The human was loose on their ship. Over the next 6 hours, Marcus became a ghost in their machinery. He disabled non-critical systems, rerouted environmental controls, and somehow accessed their computer networks despite having no knowledge of Zephyrian technology. His military training in sabotage and infiltration, combined with his survival instincts, made him nearly impossible to track down. When they finally cornered him in the engine room, Marcus wasn't cowering or pleading. He was standing calmly next to their quantum drive with what appeared to be a functional explosive device crafted from ship components. "Gentlemen," he said, noting their translator devices were working, "we need to talk." Captain Vextal approached cautiously, his weapon lowered. In all their centuries of specimen collection, nothing like this had ever occurred. "What do you want, human?" Marcus smiled. "First, I want to know why you kidnapped me. Second, I want passage back to Earth. Third," he gestured to the improvised bomb, "I want to make sure this never happens to another human being." The negotiation that followed was unlike anything in Zephyrian diplomatic history. This wasn't a cowering primitive begging for mercy. This was a predator negotiating from a position of strength. By the time Marcus Reed was returned to Earth, the Zephyrian Empire had reclassified humanity from primitive research subjects to dangerous unknowns avoid at all costs. The notation in their xenobiological database was simple. Species demonstrates extreme adaptability, technological intuition, and psychological resilience. Individual specimens capable of single-handedly compromising advanced vessels. Recommend immediate upgrade to Class 5 civilization status despite apparent technological limitations. Marcus landed back in the Montana wilderness, exactly where he'd been taken, with nothing but his memories and a small Zephyrian translation device, a gift from Captain Vextal, who had developed something resembling respect for the humans. Capabilities. As he hiked back towards civilization, Marcus chuckled to himself. 47 days of alien hospitality, he muttered. Still beats that survival course in Alaska. Above, the quantum echo jumped to hyperspace, carrying with it a new understanding. Sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that doesn't look dangerous at all. The Zephyrians never bothered humanity again.